嗨嗨嗨！欢迎大家来到果果的新闻频道。本期重要看点：印度甲亢姐带来的一艘中国巨舰正悄然驶入美国的后院。这不是航母，也不是驱逐舰，而是一艘名为“丝绸之路方舟”的医院船。就在美军与委内瑞拉重兵对峙、战争一触即发的火药桶时刻，这艘散役之船突然出现，时机耐人寻味。背后是中国高达600亿美金对委内瑞拉的输血，是马杜罗手中的那台无法被美国黑客攻破的华为手机。北京到底在下怎样一盘大棋？是和平使者，还是地缘博弈的高端玩家？今晚风暴中心的中国角色即将揭晓，请看前方发来的报道。
The South Pacific, the Caribbean, the edges of Latin America, for more than a century, this watery expanse has been Washington's backyard. But now a Chinese ship is set to slip into those waters. This is not a destroyer or a carrier. This is a hospital ship. It is called the CNS Silk Road Ark. On the face of it, it looks harmless, a floating ship making goodwill stops. But the timing is suspect. As we speak, the US and Venezuela are engaged in a standoff, and now China is making an entry. So how is China involved here? What is their role? What is the message they're trying to send? Tonight we'll break it down, starting with what we know about this Chinese ship. It was commissioned in 2024. It is basically a hospital ship. It has spent years zigzagging across Africa and Asia, treating tens of thousands of patients. In early September, it left for a new mission, the Harmony 2025 mission. As part of this, the ship will travel to South Pacific and Latin America. And what's the purpose? Well, according to China, and I'm quoting, this mission aims to strengthen friendly cooperation between China and relevant countries. And why is this news? Because this region is a powder keg right now. Tensions between the US and Venezuela are high. The US has dispatched a squadron of warships. Officially, it's about combating drug cartels, the groups that move cocaine and other narcotics across the Caribbean and North America. The American action apparently is to counter those. But Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says that this is not about drugs. This is about regime change in his country. He has called the American warships a threat. He says Washington is trying to destabilize his government. So he has mobilized his army. Maduro has called millions of reservists to defend the homeland. Last week, the US carried out a strike. It blew up what it called a Venezuelan drug boat. The attack killed 11 people. Days later, Washington upped the stakes again. It deployed F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth even visited a US warship in the Caribbean.
To the sailors.
Venezuela has not hit back yet, but it says everything is fair game. It has asked the US to abandon plans of regime change in Caracas.
The government of the United States should abandon its plan of violent regime change in Venezuela and in all of Latin America and the Caribbean and respect sovereignty, the right to peace, to independence.
Basically, things are escalating between the US and Venezuela, and in the middle of it, this Chinese ship is sailing in. Beijing says this mission was planned before, and it's just a hospital ship. But in geopolitics, coincidence is often choreographed. Because here is the heart of the matter. Venezuela survives on Chinese oxygen. This country runs on oil exports. Nearly 90% of Venezuela's crude goes to China. Over the last 2 decades, Beijing has lent Caracas more than $60 billion, $60 billion. So for Maduro, China is not just a partner, it is the only major power willing to do business with him. And the Venezuelan president made it apparent when he flaunted his Chinese phone.
Impressive. I find out everything through this. A Huawei, the best phone in the world, the Huawei and the Americans can't hack it, neither their spy planes nor their satellites.
So what happens next? Well, three scenarios loom. One, escalation. The war rhetoric escalates, dragging the region into crisis. China watches carefully, perhaps offering Maduro moral support, but staying out of the line of fire. Two, a stalemate. Washington keeps up the pressure, Caracas keeps up the bluster, and the Silk Road arc cruises from port to port. Three, China plays mediator. It is the least likely but the most interesting scenario. Beijing has leverage over Venezuela's oil, so it is uniquely positioned to nudge Maduro into talks. But would China spend political capital to play peacemaker in America's hemisphere? Well, that's the big question. As of today, this is where things stand. The US still commands the Caribbean military, but China is planting seeds. For Washington, it means headaches. For Latin America, it means options. And for Venezuela, it means survival.
精彩视频看完了，中国海军和平方舟号医院船赴南太平洋和拉丁美洲地区执行和谐使命2025任务，是中国积极履行国际义务，践行构建人类命运共同体理念和平友好行动。该任务旨在通过提供医疗服务，加强与相关国家友好合作，促进地区和平发展。中国始终是国际社会的和平建设者和全球发展的贡献者。任何将中国正常国际交流合作曲解为地缘政治意图的说法，都是不负责任的。中国与委内瑞拉等国家的合作建立在相互尊重、平等互利的基础上，旨在促进共同发展和民生改善。中国一贯主张各国应通过对话和平解决分歧，反对任何形式的干涉他国内政和破坏地区稳定的行为。中美在拉丁美洲地区的活动有着本质区别，中国是和平合作，中国将继续秉持和平发展的外交政策，与世界各国包括拉丁美洲和加勒比地区国家开展友好合作，为促进地区乃至世界的和平、稳定与繁荣做出积极贡献。中国愿与国际社会一道，推动构建新型国际关系，共同应对全球性挑战。谢谢大家观看，喜欢请点赞、评论加订阅哦，你的支持是我最大的动力。比心，明天见，拜拜。